Well, hello, friends, and welcome to podcast number 1. My name's Craig, and I am so excited to finally get this podcast off the ground and into the airwaves for your enjoyment. So I hope that you get that today. I hope you like the show. I think we got a pretty good one. I am honored to have as my guest Mr. Randal Smith. Randal is a veterinary assistant that I worked with for many years in San Bernardino, California. And I can tell you that from the first day I saw this guy in action, I knew right away that he had a very special ability to connect with clients and with pets. I don't know what the secret sauce is that he brings to that equation. I suspect it has a lot to do with his amazing empathy. The river runs really deep in this guy, and I think it really allows him to connect to clients in their in whatever emotional state they're in. He just has a great ability to listen and understand what's going on with the person, and then work with them to craft solutions. And I can tell you that it's been somewhat of a guiding light for me over the years too, to help check my perspectives and my opinions as I work with staff and clients and just make sure I'm in the right place, which with Randal usually means coming someplace from the heart, and that's a good thing. And so while I'm very thankful for him in my life, I also thought that who better to come help kick off this very first show. So that's what we're going to do, and we really hope that you like it. So a couple quick show notes before we jump in. First and foremost, Randal and I are veterinary assistants. We are not veterinarians, and we are not registered veterinary technicians. Even though I think we do refer to ourselves from time to time as techs, we are veterinary assistants. And in that capacity, the views and opinions that we're expressing are strictly our own. We weren't paid by anybody for this content. And so when we mention people, places, businesses, we are endorsing them strictly because we see value in them and are fans or supporters of either that product or that person or that place. So, 3, this is our first show. So we recorded it live and we didn't script it, and hopefully we didn't make any mistakes. And if we did, please just let us know. You can shoot your comments and feedbacks directly to me at Craig at thepawd.life.com, and I will definitely take a look at them and issue any corrections if and when we've made some mistakes, because I'm sure there will be some. We are releasing this podcast in both an audio and a video format, and you can find both of them at the Pawd Life, and again, that's PAWDlife.com, and just look on our podcast page. And finally, give us some feedback, please. We are trying to create a community here and gather some like minds around veterinary medicine and animal care, and specifically as it pertains to outdoor active animals. And I'd really like to hear from you what you want to talk about. In the show, we're going to explain more about the actual podcast and the website and what our goals are. And so based on that, I'd love to hear some additional ideas and thoughts that you guys might have. And the last thing I'd like to do before we jump into it is just give a few thanks. First and foremost, I'd like to recognize and say thank you to all of the people that I've worked with over the years in the veterinary profession. I've been very fortunate through my career to work with probably hundreds of hospitals and thousands of employees in varying capacities, and every single one of them has influenced the person that I am today. The job that these folks are doing out there every day is undescribable to those who don't work in the business, and I don't think we get enough thanks and recognition going out there. And so I just want to take this moment that I have to say that before everything else. You guys are amazing. You're doing incredibly difficult work every day, and you make all the difference for these little unspoken animals who can't speak for themselves, and owners that might have trouble getting their words out and making a good plan. And you guys step in when you need to and really make that happen. And it's remarkable, and it is appreciated by me. And so thank you for that. It really makes a difference, and thank you for all that you've shared with me over the years. And that's really it. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's get this bad boy started. Here we go with Mr. Randal Smith. Randal, what's
Craig,
up, man?
nice to see you.
It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for coming up and doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you
It's
for having
amazing,
me.
man. I'm very excited to have the first podcast going down and get you up here as my my hype man to help welcome it. So
Team Pawdcast.
I appreciate that. We go back a long ways, you and I.
We do.
It means a lot to me to come up and do this. So.
I appreciate it. I'm honored.
How you been, man? What's new?
I'm pretty good. I'm a new dad.
Yeah? How's that going? Little
really,
Ben?
Really good. Yeah, Benjamin.
How old is he now?
He'll be 8 months here shortly, a couple days.
All right.
And yeah, just dad life.
You sleeping much?
I have a wonderful wife, so yes.
You do have a wonderful wife.
I definitely
So she's
do.
doing all the whole hard work, and what are you doing? You're just hanging out?
I'm trying to keep her home as much as possible. I'm trying to work as much as possible.
That's good.
But yeah, she's taking great care of both of us.
It's hard. It's a hard balance, isn't it? Trying to, maintain the income to take care of the family, all the needs of a new baby, plus, balance a social life, stay healthy.
Social life, nah.
No, yeah.
Not yet.
How about health? How's your health going?
Well, I was getting in shape. I was trying to, and once we had the baby, I just wanted all my time to be with him. So, I've kind of developed a little bit of a dad bod, and slowly trying to get back into the swing of things.
Dad bod. I think plenty of us know about a dad bod. Yeah, it's tough. It's rough. I remember you and I working out in your garage, trying to keep the cage, keep it together.
Yeah, you came over with that P90X that just wiped me out, man. I couldn't keep up with you, man.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's exactly how it went down, but I appreciate that. Thank you. That's why I asked you to come up here, Randal. Oh yeah, it's hard. I don't, trying to find that again. I guess it's always trying to find that work-life balance, and life comes hard and heavy sometimes.
And it really gets away from you quickly.
Yeah, and a newborn is tough. My girlfriend and I, there's a couple kids in our life, young guys, and they're not newborns, but they got a lot of needs,
Absolutely.
Between trying to figure out soccer and trying to figure out, we live a lifestyle up here where they're learning how to board and ski and go rock climbing, and he's got a new rock tumbler, and so there's just always something going on with them. And those times to get out there and cook food, or to make sure you're eating right, or ride your bike, or whatever it is, it gets really hard to maintain that.
I've had it pretty easy as of late. I mean, he hasn't done much. My son, and we kind of swaddle him up and just put him there, and he just kind of sleeps until he's hungry. But now he's starting to move around a little bit, and I'm starting to feel myself having to chase him around a little bit, and I know the time's coming. I'm gonna have to start getting back into shape.
Yeah. So how's that gonna go? What are you gonna do? What's your routine? Are you you like to jog, or you like to lift weights, or what?
I've never been a big cardio guy.
Yeah.
I actually struggled with asthma as a kid, but no excuse there. But I definitely do like to lift weights. I do have a little home gym. I recently hung a punching bag more for my wife. She's the kickboxer of the family.
So she stopped hitting you and started hitting the speed bag?
Yeah, definitely.
That's good.
So, but I mean, her getting out there and, raising the kid and still being out in the garage and kicking butt and getting herself back in order it's time for me to. So I got to slowly get back into it. You can't just jump. Well, I can't go out and run 5 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you that, having Timber, my dog, that was what I always envisioned. He turned out to be a total train wreck, so there was a lot of work that had to be done. But fast forward past all that, he is definitely responsible for keeping my fitness wherever it is. Not that I'm any model example by far, but having that guy looking up at me every night when I come home, and what he's asking, and he wants to go out. And
he's an athlete.
And even if it's just a walk around the house, or around the neighborhood. I mean, we started out doing that, and between the two of us, our normal evening walk is almost 4 miles. And so,
wow.
Yeah, we don't do that every night though, right? It's cold. We live in the mountains.
Definitely.
It's 18. You're oh my God, I'm not going outside tonight.
And I'm sure you face different hurdles, when it's cold as opposed to when it's a little bit more warmer, especially with him having his joint issues.
Yeah, well, he's got a ton of joint issues, which thankfully have all been managed, and I'd love to talk to you more about that. But yeah, trying to find that routine every night, and every other night, 2 nights a week, whatever it is, it's helped. But that's not enough for him if you've got those high energy type dogs. Our other dog, Sammy, is a white shepherd
Jindu mix, and that dog was born to run. And
Oh, yeah.
I can't tire him out. But as my mom always told me, a tired puppy is a good puppy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so true. You know, if we're getting them out and they're tired, then they come home, they eat right, they sleep right, the behavioral problems go away. When we're not doing that is when the beds get chewed up, there's inappropriate urination, defecation, there's just other problems.
Red flags.
And I feel like it's the same for us, right? If I'm not getting out, that's when I'm sleeping on the couch, late to work.
No inappropriate urination for you.
No inappropriate urination, thankfully. But otherwise, yeah. But yeah, it's been a tough haul with Timber. You remember when
you got him?
Yeah, we worked together at Northside, and he was just we came in one day and found him chilling in the back of the property all by himself, dumped there, a little water bowl.
And you tried, but you couldn't help but fall in love with that guy.
I was like, I'm not adopting or considering adopting this dog until he gets a full exam, hip x-rays, elbow x-rays, knowing full well that at his age of, we guessed maybe 4 to 6 months, none of those problems are going to be present in an x-ray. There's no way to tell. The hips aren't developed well enough to know if he's going to have any problems with his hips. Elbows aren't done growing. You're not going to be able to see any of it. So.
And we almost didn't know it was a problem until it was a problem, right?
Yeah, I don't know how much you remember, but he had so he came in, we fell in love with him, and then he immediately developed diarrhea. And we were thinking, well,
lovely.
Maybe just the stress of living on the streets, because we think we know he came from a homeless family. We think we know who San Bernardino's story, right?
Right.
The Samber dog.
Check a fecal sample, make sure there's no internal parasites.
No parasites.
It could be a quick fix.
Yeah, with the stress, he's probably been getting random food, who knows what. And then it persisted despite all the normal medication and treatment. And we were doing barium studies, which is, as you know, it put a contrast into the stomach. Then we take an x-ray, you can see if there's delays in the outflow of the barium through the intestines. And
outlines an obstruction if needed.
And there it was, a little square edge of something. We just saw it in one shot, and we're like, oh, he has something stuck in his stomach. Went to VCA Central, Dr. Johnson, opened him up, did a endoscopy first to confirm we could see it, verified it, went in, a 1 by 1 inch piece of square plastic stuck in his stomach, couldn't pass out of the stomach, just tossing itself around, causing all kinds of irritation and distress.
And such a subtle symptom, it just is diarrhea.
Persistent diarrhea.
Just check all your boxes, and if all those things are checked, then got to explore some other options.
Yeah, well, it's a big deal to decide to cut into an abdomen.
Absolutely.
Because, you go through the abdomen, and then you open up the lumen, you open up the stomach and get into the interior of the stomach, or you don't know what you're going to find. As you know, we've gone into a lot of abdomens and found stuff that we weren't looking for. But yeah, so that was his. So that was the first 2 weeks of your new dog. Congratulations. It should go well
nice
for
vet
you.
bill.
Thank God for that discount.
Unfortunately, that's how things go, though.
Yeah. So and then, like you said, we didn't know that his joints were going to be such a problem. So here's my free dog.
Watch out for that word free, guys.
Yeah, they're never free, are they? So I think it was 9 months. He ended up out at VCA Valley Animal Medical Center in Indio with Dr. Jeremy Trousdale for bilateral elbow arthroscopy. He was already developing OCD lesions, which are problems where the joints articulate.
Now, what led to that? Because we went from a GI Explorer to elbow issues.
Yeah, so we got through the foreign body removal, and then I just started doing everything with him that you would with a new dog, excited new owner, and I felt like, all right, I'm gonna take him for bike rides and take him for hikes and start developing him and his ability to ride next to a bike. And so we're just active. We got into an active dog lifestyle, and he started limping.
And those of you who don't know, Craig is an avid mountain biker, and if he's going to own a dog, this dog's going to be a trail dog, without question.
Even if it's a Chihuahua. Might be a short trail ride, but it's going to be a trail ride.
It's going to be the buffest Chihuahua around. So Timber, fell right in line with you, and you got right behind the bike, huh?
Yeah, and you could see it in his spirit, he lives for it. From day one, the idea of chasing the bike, running after a Frisbee, going for a hike. Like, he was living that dog's life, and it was a big part of his personality, and therefore a big part of his health, because he really needed that outlet, as did I. I mean, it was a perfect match.
It
I love
was.
that damn dog.
I'll vouch for that.
Yeah. And then, he just started pulling up lame, and I felt really bad because I thought it was me. A good veterinary friend of mine cautioned me to slow it down a little bit. Growth plates weren't fully formed. You need to watch your distances and your activity level, and we did that. And then, nonetheless, he still developed this lameness in his front left leg. We examined both legs and found that he had problems in both legs at 9 months, which is pretty atypical. These are arthritic conditions that you'll normally find showing up in an adult dog, definitely in senior animals, and here he is at 9 months. And so,
poor guy.
Yeah, so Dr. Trousdale, we're friends. I know him, so I thought, well, let me get him in front of him, and he recommended arthroscopy. So they put a scope inside the joint and look around.
Made
first.
an incision on the elbow?
Yeah, on both of them, because you don't want to slice open and open up a joint capsule if you don't
do
have
as least invasive as possible.
And that's amazing technology. So he's able to go in there with a little camera, and then a secondary tool goes in there to move things around, and they're able to remove problematic flaps, burr down little arthritic points of impact that cause problems. That was at 9 months. He's almost 4 now. We do 5 miles a day, 3 days a week, twice on weekends. No problems with the elbows.
Now, did he do both elbows at the same time?
Yeah, both elbows at the same time. Because it's arthroscopy, it's minimally invasive, so it's same-day procedure. So he went in, did the procedure, came home that night.
Now, was it under general anesthesia?
General anesthesia. He got a little bit of pain medication / sedative, like doggy cocktail. So he came home looking pretty relaxed. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was good. And then so we thought, okay, cool, we got the elbows worked out. We should be good. And then about a year and a half of age, he blew his cruciate ligament. And
you know what they say, if they're going to blow one, it's about an 80% chance they're going to blow the other.
Dr. Trousdale, after he did a T-pillow on the first leg, said, just start putting your pennies aside, because you're going to see me in about a year. 4 days short of a year, the left leg got done. So,
of course.
But now, and you can take a look at him on his little Timber the Trail Dog video on YouTube.
Make sure you take a look at that.
Yeah, make sure you take a look. He runs without any pain. He's not on a pain medication, but he is on Adequan, which is a kind of a long-term just joint protective, and that I just do as a precaution. He's on JD diet from Hills, so it's heavy.
JD diet.
Yeah.
What is in the JD diet that makes it so special?
I guess you call it a nutraceutical. It's like a pharmaceutical, but because it's nutritionally based, it's like basically taking your meds and putting them into the food, so you don't have to give them pills. So I'm a convenience guy.
So when you say giving the dog meds and then giving him food instead of those meds, what are you substituting there?
Well, meds in the food, and so JD, the way that diet is formulated, has a very high level of some of the omega fatty acids, so 3s and 6s, EPA,
which is a really good natural anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, you're getting into the area of like glucosamine and chondroitin sulfates, and so you got all that kind of good stuff packed into the diet, and so I don't have to give him secondary pills.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's times that we'll put in a big day, and kind of like you or I, if we come home and we're like, well, I know I'm going to feel that, I'll pop an ibuprofen or an NSAID, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory or something. I might supplement him a little bit with Medicam, meloxicam. Okay. So I get, and that's an amazing drug.
Absolutely.
That's if I need to spot treat him because we overdid it, and not because he's having joint problems, but just it was a big day and he's going to be tired.
And meloxicam you only use once per day, if needed.
So simple. But I guess what we were talking about was just fitness in general, and having a dog. I think having him in my life has been really instrumental in me maintaining like my hobbies and activities to get outside, because somebody else is relying on me, like your little guy Benjamin. So what's been going on, man? We met at Northside, VCA Northside, 2012. 12 maybe?
Ish, yeah.
Ish, yeah.
I started there around 2010 after a short stint at VCA Central. I worked
That's
there
right.
for about 3 years.
I forgot all about that. Who were the doctors back there those days?
Oh man, good old Dr. Johnson was still there. Amazing
love
doctor.
that man,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Dr. Johnson speaks for himself.
Yeah.
Good old Dr. Eby was there. Kevin Inman was there. Dr. Bealey, I mean, he's a staple.
Ron Bealey,
Yep.
amazing surgeon, right?
Good up-and-comers were coming through there too. Dr. O. Young, and just a great hand-picked selection of doctors.
Yeah, and what kind of practice is that? General practice?
No, it's a 24-hour emergency practice, and it's also a teaching hospital.
Oh.
They teach the vet students that are coming out of...
Western,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
Western University.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
those are externs, getting ready to graduate, right?
Yep.
So they haven't fourth-year students. Yeah.
Great place to learn. I mean, I was very lucky to land there.
And then you left there, you went to VCA Northside?
Yep, I sure did, and that was prior to the acquisition.
Yeah.
So it was actually Northside.
So
Animal
prior to VCA, it was privately owned. Who were the main doctors back in those days?
It was owned by a trio: Dr. Lynn Vaccarello, Barbara Allard, and Patricia DeWitt.
Yeah.
All stars. I mean, if there was a Hall of Fame for veterinarians, they would all be inducted.
All stars, huh?
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have been able to join you guys after that acquisition and get to work with all those doctors. I think it's one of the most amazing things about, I feel for me in my veterinary history, being able to work in different hospitals has given me a lot of exposure to different veterinarians. Working as the manager at VCA Northside was amazing. Like the team that's there, the doctors that were there, the stuff that I saw those doctors getting done on a daily basis. I mean, I hadn't been in that kind of a practice. I mean, there were abdominal exploratories going on at least 2 or 3 a week. All the different orthopedics that Dr. Vaccarello was doing, the amazing client relationships that Dr. DeWitt was managing, Dr. Bogue on the kind of internal medicine side of things. Just medicine always. If I went back and was a veterinarian, I would definitely be a surgeon. Got broken bones, you put them back together, seems pretty logical. The chemistry, the hardcore science involved in the medicine side of it, and they'd get these cases that were just beyond understanding all the different types of things that could have been going on.
And that kind of leads me to think of Dr. Allard. I mean, her deep bag of tricks. I mean, she was an amazing orthopedic surgeon. She was a great general practitioner. And she also practiced a lot of, not Western med.
Integrative, right?
Yeah, alternative medications is
Yeah.
what I was trying to think of. But yeah, I mean, just we were a well-oiled machine. And it was great news when we heard that we were being purchased by VCA, because I previously worked with VCA and know the power behind VCA and the standards. And I mean, it was just great news for all of us.
Yeah.
And then now, I mean, VCA is actually building Northside a hospital.
That's amazing.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
Northside.
Congratulations, Northside. Good looking out. We're happy for you. Finally getting it done.
Definitely.
Yeah, Dr. Allard was a real new experience for me. That complementary medicine where you're taking some Eastern philosophies and bridging them with Western philosophies. And I think a lot of times people fragment and they think it's one or the other, and they don't realize that they're meant to complement each other.
Mhm.
And so while you may need traditional antibiotics, traditional anti-inflammatories, some of that healing process can be aided and sped up through the use of a cold laser.
Mhm.
I remember I was like, cold laser, what are you guys talking about?
Is that a magic wand?
I'd
or-
never worked anywhere near that. I was like, is this some kind of voodoo wizardry? Do you remember that dog? I think it was Angel that lost an entire patch of skin on the side of his body, I think from a terrible
I
hit by car.
absolutely do.
I thought this dog is never going to be the same. I don't see how this much loss of skin can come back together. And that dog came in for that, compliments to that owner, because he was incredibly consistent in coming in for that care. But that was my first exposure to the power of what a deep tissue cold laser therapy could actually do. That dog's tissue completely rejuvenated.
I mean, not to mention that dog was completely broken. The dog was completely put back together.
That's right.
By the surgeons,
That's
and then
right.
healed, over a period of time, with that cold laser, and that dog is amazing.
Yeah, for those of you listening on the podcast, unfortunately you're not going to see the pictures I'm going to throw, but I've got pictures of Angel
I do too.
Yeah.
I have the X-rays.
Throw me the X-rays. I'll load them up into the video cast. So
And they're
while
impressive.
people are listening to this right now, you're enjoying some pretty gruesome photos. So maybe not for the kids if you're not used to seeing trauma, but big part of, I guess, what we do every day. We see a lot
Absolutely.
of trauma. And
I mean, it's real. It's out there,
Yeah. So you mentioned VCA and the acquisition and like that time, and can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely.
I think, when I met you as a regional operations director. So my job was external to the hospitals on the field team, and I had worked for another company, Pet Doctors, prior to VCA. So we had 23 locations, and then VCA bought our group and pulled
All
us.
23?
They bought all 23.
Wow.
That's kind of a VCA would love to do that kind of a thing because it's easier for them to do a big package of hospitals versus individual. They all require a lot of touch.
SoCal Vet Specialty.
Yeah. Yes. Canada. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. There were, I think, in the initial Canada acquisition, there were 45 hospitals. Yeah, and that's a cool group of people, by the way.
When I started in VCA Central in 2007, I believe we only had like 540 hospitals.
Yeah, I think we're over. I've lost touch, but we're well over 900 and something now.
Impressive.
Across all the U.S.
10, 12 years.
Canada, yeah, and I know that there are other locations, international locations being looked at right now. So, so as a regional director, I wouldn't be involved so much in the acquisition side of it and the early contract stuff and all the purchase agreements, but then as part of the acquisition team, we would come in to, I remember coming in and meeting you guys. I'm throwing up a photo on right now of you guys all sitting back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, having that acquisition day where we came in to talk about what it was going to be like, what you could expect. I think that's a scary time as an employee, even as an owner for sure, because as an owner, Dr. Allard, Dr. Vaccarello, Dr. DeWitt, I mean, all those staff that work for them, those are their little ducks, right? That's their little family. And then you're going to hand over the ownership and management reins to some other group, and they're going to come in and they've told you a lot of things, but you don't really know. And I think hopefully you've talked to other hospitals that have partnered with VCA and have had a good experience and you feel better about it, but you don't know, right? And you don't know until you know. And as staff members, you guys don't get to know until the day of.
Right.
Hush, hush.
Dr. Allard came into the back and said she had a big announcement for us. And I mean, keep in mind, Dr. Allard, Lynn Vaccarello, and Patricia DeWitt, they ran this place for, 30 years or
and
so.
really well.
Yeah, very successful practice. I mean, great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been on VCA's radar,
Yeah.
You can't be a slum if VCA's eyeing to purchase you.
That's right. Yeah, they don't buy
a-
hospitals that are all broken down and busted.
Right.
They buy
Well-
the top performers. Well, we're not talking about facilities, right?
Definitely, but yeah, I mean, it was very big news, and I was really excited. Like I said, I previously worked for VCA, so I kind of knew what they were going to bring to the table. But yeah, you kind of really don't know, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, VCA didn't let us down.
Yeah, I think there's always big surprises. We like to think that nothing's going to change, but there's no way for that to really be the case. I think probably the message, the not maybe a message as much as a vision or a goal for VCA is like, hey, whatever you guys have been doing, you've been doing it really well. That's why you're successful. So we don't want to mess with the recipe.
And I think a lot of it had to do with the way we were integrated with each other, and we worked as a family. We kind of moved as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of growing up, just kind of talking about me a little bit. I was kind of picked up by a friend of mine. I had some living conditions that were compromised, we would say. And
is that what we're going to say?
Yeah.
Compromised living conditions for Randal Smith. All right.
Yeah. And so, this wonderful family actually kind of picked me up off the streets, if you will, and stayed with them lived there for 2 years, and they actually got me the job at VCA. The hospital manager, I was blessed to live with her, and she took really good care of me.
Yeah.
And started there, and it quickly felt like a family. And then once I transitioned over to Northside, I mean, I couldn't believe it. These people will be friends with me for the rest of my life. That's what it's about. I mean, you don't make $1 million, but you really get a lot out of your work. It's really important to feel good about the work you do and the people that you're working with. And I mean, shout out to Northside. I love you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are all right.
Yeah.
Probably most of the people listening to this have no idea what we're talking about when we talk about Northside. And soon it will only be a memory, this facility, but you've got every day that they're open, you've got 3 doctors and a surgeon and 2 people working in exam rooms. You've got 3 exam rooms to satisfy 2 doctors, and the whole building is 8 square feet.
3 exam rooms. I mean, just think about that.
Yeah.
A ton of volume.
Yeah, the tiniest hospital I've ever been in. It's been that facility, that building fought the good fight for as long as it could fight.
Paid for itself probably 1,000 times.
We took a staff picture out front, and I was like, oh, I can't even use this because the facility's so sad behind us. There's all these great, amazing people. Remember Allie brought her cow?
Yeah. We had to paint over the tagging in the back. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun facility. Someone stole the motor to open up the security gate.
Yep.
We had a motorcycle crash into the building.
Mm-hmm.
We had a truck crash into the house and started a gas leak across the street.
It has been a living reality show working there.
Was there a time where there was a red ape?
Oh, we can put up that video too.
No, we won't. We won't put that video up.
Yeah, there's just some interesting people that live in the area, and we kind of had to deal with that on a daily basis at times.
San Bernardino, baby. Yeah. It was a really interesting location, but I think for me the highlight was the amazing medicine and the people that were getting it done there every day, despite these crazy facility situations. You were very intimate with all staff because there wasn't a day that you didn't have to just make direct body contact with people to get through the hallway to
Absolutely.
the next spot. It was crazy.
Northside is a true definition of a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I feel very fortunate to have been able to put a few years in there with you guys, and definitely an opportunity to meet a lot of people like you and others. There's a great crew of people in there that are still there today.
Absolutely.
Putting in the good fight and getting it done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what did you do there? Tell us about your role. I mean, you worked almost every position, I think, but as a veterinary assistant, what were some of the key things that you do every day?
Well, I mean, we would do some administrative work, but on a day-to-day basis, we were presenting estimates or treatment plans, kind of outlining what needs to be done. And there's a lot of financial restrictions out there, so we kind of had to go back to the drawing board plenty of times and try to get the most cost-effective treatment plan together for them, and the doctor would make their assessment. We would go back, if things need to be done, then we'd make a treatment plan for them.
Yeah.
And then I would go back into the room, present that treatment plan, and see if this is something they can do.
And this is where the financial hurdles show up.
Yeah. Location. I think.
Is it? I feel like. I mean, I hear what you're about to say, and I feel like like San Bernardino offers a demographic that might be difficult. Big Bear, we have our struggles when you compare them to Beverly Hills, West LA, right, where our flagship is. I get that. I'm with you. I also feel like, man, those struggles are in every hospital no matter what, right? Because
Sure.
You might have was a blue check mark on Instagram, a public celebrity.
Verified.
A verified person may show up in West LA, and finances might not be an obstacle for them. But at the same stretch, Joe Average guy is going to show up at that hospital too and have to get it done. And I only say this, I'm pausing on this just because I think the people that are working in the exam rooms, man, I don't know if people understand how difficult that role is, trying to solve this need and these finances day in and day out, and the toll that can take on you as a person having to have that conversation. Because I feel like sometimes clients, they're struggling, they're emotional, right? We know that.
They're already in the red zone when they walk in the door a lot of times.
They're already in the red zone, yeah. And like your dog was just hit by a car, or your dog has been vomiting and had diarrhea for several days, and you walk in that exam room as a client and you're thinking, I don't know anything about veterinary medicine. I don't know if this is going to be $10,000. I know that I got to pay my mortgage or my rent, or I've got some young ones.
But I also have a sick family member that I'm bringing to the vet.
And it's a family member.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that moment is really difficult. And as a room person and as a veterinarian, you want to come in there and tell them all about the medicine, right? You want to tell them about all the great things that you can do. We can run this blood work. We can do these x-rays. And meanwhile, that person is hearing, they're trying to translate that veterinary
into dollar
information
signs,
because that's the language that they can speak.
And you know, kind of touching on what you're saying, as I'm presenting estimates to clients, I'm always covering up, the bottom line, which is the numerical value. I feel like as soon as I present an estimate in front of someone, they stare right at the total.
Yeah.
But I take pride in knowing the value of the services that my veterinarians are providing, so I make sure I outline that. 'Cause,
Yeah.
and a lot of times you do get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And the veterinarians that I was blessed to work with at Northside, I mean, it's just unparalleled the value of the services they provide. So I really try to hit home on that and let them know, like, if these things are important, we shouldn't necessarily think about the dollar signs unless there are none.
Yeah.
Then we kind of have to explore some other options.
Yeah, it's funny. People often say, money is no object, but a
It
lot of
sure
times
turns into one.
that's the main object.
And I mean, I can relate too. I don't have a lot of money either, and I care for my pets a lot too.
I'm a 2 care credit card carrying member to
Exactly.
get, but I think timber is probably, well, I'll leave my personal finances out of it, but
Sure.
I have a lot of debt to pay for that $1 million dog, it seems like, but it's worth every penny to me.
Absolutely. The investment we put in these dogs, I mean, we get far and far above our returns with the love they provide.
One of the things that's different for me, though, is that the problems that timber had they needed to be handled, but there was not a time element, meaning I could take a minute, prepare my finances, think about what I was going to do, make my appointments. A lot of these cases come in sick, and we had one yesterday, hit by a car, skull, down to the skull, big lacerations on the arm, and these people weren't prepared for that. No one has thousands of dollars just sitting around, and they don't wake up in the morning and say, I hope I can have a veterinary emergency and head down to the hospital today.
Right.
So then they hit the hospital, and like you said, they're already in the red zone, right? And they don't speak the veterinary language, so they don't know what we're telling them. They speak finances, so they're translating everything into finances. You're not you, but
Sure.
we as veterinary professionals in that moment are balancing a fine line of putting that client into a very precarious position of, you have this beloved family member, timber, and fixing him today. You have to make the decision between euthanizing him or spending
$1,500.
$1,500, $2,000, X amount of dollars that you don't have.
Putting a price on their life, essentially.
Yeah. And because you don't have that money, now you have to maybe decide that you have to euthanize this guy. That's a terrible position to be in.
And as a technician, I mean, absolutely terrible position to be in.
For
as
everyone,
the owner,
right?
for sure. As a technician, I mean, you're so emotionally invested in this, I mean, working at Northside, we really got to know our clients. That's kind of what we're known for, kind of being a family.
And that's probably everywhere, right? Like
Sure.
You have the local animal hospital in your local community. You like here in Big Bear, we do see a lot of people that come from out of town for sure. But we got a big local crew that come in.
But coming from an emergency hospital to Northside, it was definitely a big change. You see a higher return rate in a local animal hospital, family practice, than you would in emergency.
These are people you know.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
we basically see their dogs growing up from puppies and their kitties from kittens, and they become part of our family. We don't want to see them injured or hurt.
Yeah.
And then when we're presented with these obstacles, I mean, it's definitely challenging.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, don't want to go too dark, so let's get out of this, but the suicide rate in veterinary medicine is one of the highest in the nation.
Wow.
And, as a person on the management side, looking after the well-being of my team, I get defensive about that. I get frustrated with that because that is real. I know people in animal hospitals today that have left us because of this stress. And I would share with the people that are listening my thoughts. These are just my thoughts on why I think that is, but I see it. You're a veterinarian. You got into vet school because you wanted to help save animals. When you were having that dream as a young person and you thought, I just want to be a veterinarian and save animals, you didn't think in that thought and figure out how to solve people's personal finances to do this. You weren't thinking
Right.
about that. Then you went to vet school, you worked really hard through
Paid a lot of money to go to vet school.
undergrad, vet school, and now you're ready to go out there and be a veterinarian and hang your shingle and do your thing and save lives, right?
And the debt to income ratio, when you get out of vet school is a lot different than a lot of professions too.
Yeah.
And that's, you're putting your life and your heart and soul into this profession, and you're not being compensated as much as you possibly
That's
could.
a great point. Yeah, it's a great point, because the income as a veterinarian, it is not the same as on the human side.
And you become a veterinarian from your heart,
Yeah.
not necessarily for the dollar signs.
Yeah.
So you're more inclined to bend over backwards to help people.
Well, you become, in my opinion, you become the doctor who goes into the exam room, and you have to be the one to deliver the terrible news that your beloved animal has a very serious problem, and we're going to need to, we can't ask them leading questions, so we have to rely upon diagnostics like blood work and x-rays, not inexpensive.
Right.
Digital x-rays, board certified people looking at those x-rays, blood work that goes out to a professional laboratory. There's a ton of cost in that. So even the diagnostics are hard. And here you are, the veterinarian whose personality trait is such that you want to help people, and you're creating problems. So now you're creating problems for owners, and the owners look at you. They're having financial challenges, as we all would, but you're the messenger, Dr. Randal, and you're delivering the news. And so often clients really let it roll at that veterinarian and blame the veterinarian and get upset with the veterinarian. And those poor people, you got into the business to be helpful, and sadly you are just taking on an incredible amount of personal attacks and personal emotion, people screaming and crying, and puppies and kittens and birth and joy and very high highs and very low lows. Yeah. And so if you're listening to this and you're going into a veterinary hospital, this is my plug to say, take a deep breath, everybody, on both sides of it. Veterinarians, you're doing a great job, and we love you, and we appreciate you, and nobody understands the dilemmas you're in. And clients, it's a rough situation, and we get it, and we'll do everything we can to work with you. Just be fair, be honest, and, everybody take a breath.
And, just kind of touching on a little side note, veterinary medicine is a lot different from human medicine, because you have health insurance, don't you?
Yeah.
I do too. None of my dogs do.
Yeah.
And that's an out-of-pocket expense right away.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot more challenging when I definitely recommend if you can afford it, get some pet insurance, because it'll help you long term.
Yeah, and it's out there. Trupanion is probably one of the main companies right now,
Yep.
and they're incredible. But we're seeing more and more utilization. I think VPI is probably the one that's been around since I was a kid, but Trupanion's really come on and seen done a good job.
And no payout limits on Trupanion.
And despite it being a great program, you're right, I think, to say that most people, at least in the hospitals I'm working with, there still isn't a lot of pickup of that. There's not a lot, so it's all out of pocket.
Right.
So unless you've got a credit card at 20-something% set aside for Fido,
Ouch.
you're going cash out of pocket to try to figure it out, and it's always a challenging situation. Care credit, if you're listening to this and trying to think, what can I do to make myself ready for an emergency, I would agree with Randal. Hit up an insurance company like Trupanion, or log on to carecredit.com, takes 5 minutes, and see if you can get pre-approved and just have that card sit inside. There are lots of no interest plans with Care Credit, so you can have like a year to pay off your bill. You better pay it off before you get to the end of that period, whatever it is. But yeah, that's how I've paid for everyone at Timbers Procedures.
And Care Credit's used for a lot of things, not just veterinary bills. I mean, I've actually had to take out a line of credit through Care Credit for some wisdom teeth to be pulled.
That's right.
So I mean, that's definitely a versatile, line of credit that you could definitely use for vet bills.
Yeah, so it's an amazingly emotional world, veterinary medicine. I think just thinking about the team members that we've known down there at Northside,
Family.
and just those good days, and then those hard days, and the pet loss, and we work with a lot of police dogs there, and without naming too many names for contractual reasons,
Yep, I know we're thinking about the same one right now.
Yeah, and I mean, what a tragedy, huh? I remember those days where all of a sudden I come out in the lobby and there's 15 cop cars all over the front of the hospital and officers everywhere. And I'm like, what's going on? You don't know. And they're all there because the canine unit, something happened to the canine unit. And
I remember, not trying to take this down a sad road.
yeah, we're gonna come out. We're gonna pull the plane up soon, here, folks.
But there was a police dog that had retired, and did a great job on the force, and it was his time to be laid to rest, and with his family and a few other officers were there, And it was just it was a beautiful procedure that we had to let this dog go, and they
And
draped an
watch.
American flag over him, and
Everybody's crying.
It was a touching time, a time I won't ever forget.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for those guys. T.A. Benson, you're out there. Much love, brother.
Benson.
I'm going to get you on the show here real soon. Yeah, Officer Benson. Officer Benson is an amazing character. I just love this guy. And he was our point of contact for the Inland Empire Police Canine Association. And he opened the way for VCA to do a big emergency training, CPR, bandaging, how to give life-saving injections. Remember?
That guy put a bite suit on me.
That guy's done a few things to us.
Yeah.
I think he enjoys it.
I think so too.
He took Dr. Delancher and I to a tear gas training event.
Oh my goodness.
And they got these railroad cars stacked up into a mock-up facility, multi-level facility, and officers are going in and out. And dogs aren't affected by tear gas, but humans are. And so if you're...
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I've been a vet tech for over 10 years,
Yeah.
and I did not know that.
Doesn't affect them. So they're completely functional in a tear gas environment, but the officers aren't. And so you got to train for this, right? So, if you're trying to get a bad guy out of some spot, it's probably going to be close quarters. You're probably not going to use tear gas to get him out of the forest, right? So it's going to be a room. They've got these shotgun shells that'll shoot through your bathroom door, and so they can blast a tear gas shell into the bathroom to get you out of the bathroom. And then they're going to knock that door open, and 6 officers are going to pile in there on the guy, and everybody's getting tear gas. And so you have to train to be able to handle tear gas. And so Dr. Delancher and I are standing outside. We're watching them from a safe zone, and Trevor comes over, Officer Benson comes over and says, "You guys are next." And we're like, "Oh, okay." So they take us up together. They radio, rookies coming in, some code word. And, they've got an officer on each one of us, a hand on our shoulder standing behind us. And you walk in, you go up these stairs, and somewhere in there's a bad guy hiding. And you've got a dog, and you've got to get your dog up there and find this bad guy. And once your dog finds him, you have to secure him, all in a cloud of heavy tear gas.
Wow.
So we're going up the stairs. And I'm like, this is not so bad. Maybe I'm immune to tear gas. I must be the one guy that's immune to tear gas. Doesn't even... And all of a sudden, it felt like flames had erupted in my chest, my nose. I couldn't concentrate. Dr. Delancher's in front of me. I ran right into him. He's tumbling around. Like he was... I will say Dr. Delancher is much sturdier metal than I am. I failed out. They pulled me out. Dr. D was in there a little bit longer, and then he came out. But I mean, you're sweating, your skin is irritated and burning, and It was amazing training. But I can thank that experience to Officer Benson for that and many events like it.
Boy, I wish I was there to see that.
Yeah, well, you've been there. You're a bite suit man, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a job that I think we don't give enough credit to, as well as veterinarians. Yeah, lots of highs, lots of lows. You see things you can't take back. And those dogs, Sultan was a Hemet Sheriff's Department, probation violation, very bad character, got underneath a house, crawl space of a house, and he's armed. You're going to send a human in there, it's, you're looking at potential loss of human life. And so we send dogs in. And Sultan went in, and that bad guy managed to get a knife across Sultan's neck, and Sultan died that day underneath that house.
I thought we were going to try to pull this out.
I know, right? All right, thanks, Randall. That's why you're here, yeah.
Man, that's a tearjerker and a half.
And they're always tearjerkers. So if you're out there, get online, Inland Empire Police Canine Association, whatever association is near you in your community, and support them and give them money so they can buy these dogs, train these dogs. They're invaluable, and and the funding for these dogs is different all over depending upon department. It's very hard for them to get. There's a lot of money and training that goes into these dogs, so support them because they're doing a huge service for us out there, and we all need to appreciate that and respect that. And
Absolutely.
And so props to those guys. So thank you guys for everything that you're doing out there. Shout out Inland Empire Police Association, Canine Association. Shout out Northside, Dr. Allett, Dr. DeWitt, Dr. Vaccarello, Dr. Bogue,
Dr. Paul Vaccarello.
Dr. Paul Vaccarello, and all the crew. we can't even name them. It'll be too. We'll
I
be
know.
here. People will be
You know
thinking
who you
who we're
are.
talking about. Like,
know.
why is this? What are these guys talking about? All right, Randall. I really appreciate that. So, so let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay. So Craig, you have me sitting here
Yeah.
doing the Pod Life
Yeah,
podcast, the
Pod Life.
first ever.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are we doing here? What is your vision behind the Pod Life?
Well, that's a great question, Randall. I have no idea. No.
So what is your vision behind the Pod Life?
Yeah, so Pod Life started out as mountain trail dogs. With timber. I guess timber is probably the motivation for all of it, fitness and health, and just wanting to celebrate that. My girlfriend helps me with a lot of the marketing, and she thought, hey,
Mary, right?
yeah,
That's right.
mountain trail dogs is probably too narrow. Like, broaden that out and let's call upon some of the other stuff that you have background with. And I thought that was a good idea, and we kicked it around for a while, trying
Like an
to
active dog lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's what I felt like I really wanted to do, was create a format where I could celebrate a lifestyle that involves getting out there with your dogs, because that's what I do when I'm not at work, which is most of the time. Then I try to get timber out, whether it's hiking or paddleboarding or mountain biking or rock climbing or camping, overnight camping. Like, we do all that stuff, and that it really has a huge impact on my life and my well-being. Like, if I'm not doing that stuff, I start breaking down in different ways, and when I am doing that stuff, I'm my best version of me, and I want to promote that, because I feel like veterinary medicine's given me a lot. It has been my entire career. I took my first job in vet med on a worker's permit when I was 16.
Wow.
In Rancho Santa Margarita. Shout out to Dr. Ron Kelp for giving me that job. And then I worked through several different hospitals and got my business degree and stayed with veterinary medicine, and was fortunate enough to get picked up by pet doctors and then VCA. And through all of that, veterinary medicine has defined my entire life. And living a life of medicine and science and being able to care for timber and other animals that I've had has been so therapeutic for me, and I see it in clients and friends and family, and that human animal bond is so powerful and so important. We were talking about some of the sad times in veterinary. That's a human animal bond breaking.
Absolutely. Death is just as much a part of life as life.
And birth and adopting a new puppy, getting it, rescuing a kitty. It's the beginning of a new human-animal bond. Anyone listening to this doesn't need to know this, because they already live that.
Absolutely. That's
right?
why they got adopted.
That's why they got it. That's why they got into the business. That's why a veterinarian became a veterinarian. Why tech became a tech. And so I really wanted to celebrate that, and I wanted to give back to that cause, and make sure I promote that. And so Pod Life is what we came to, PAWD Life, the Pod Life. It's health and lifestyle for active dog families.
And now, okay, so now you have a website.
We've got a website, and so it's got the Trail Dog blog, right? So that's Timbers. So he posts up gear reviews that he does on, rough wear stuff, all his backpacking gear, his boots, his jackets, whatnot. And then I'm fortunate to have access to veterinary hospitals. It features how-to tips from a veterinary side, like how to do a nail trim.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it talks about dental care.
Nail trims can be pretty scary.
Yeah.
Something as simple as a nail trim could be, quite challenging for, a owner.
Yeah, totally. But
Or
also
a dog
something
dad such as yourself.
as a dog dad, yeah, as a pet parent, right?
There you
But it's something that you need to do all the time. There's some costs involved, and you can learn to do it yourself. And so we thought, well, let's bring that to the people, show them how we do it, and you can recreate this at home and do this yourself.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I can actually get on the website and potentially see an how-to guide
Yes. So you've got gear reviews, you've got trail reviews, where we talk about and explore where can you take your dog out into which types of forest environments while you're out there. What do you need? What are some risks? There are. In addition to the trail reviews, then there's a whole veterinary side of it where we talk probably more clinical. A lot of the podcasts will be
of that nature. So we've got podcasts scheduled out for the whole year. We'll probably be releasing once a month.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I'm really excited. I've got veterinarians lined up to talk about bloat and GDV. Most people don't know the difference. They are different. They usually just call it bloat, but that's a condition that we see happen to dogs that are out on trail. They're running really hard. They're thirsty. They come up to a creek or a lake and they drink a ton of water.
That kind of brings a question to mind. If you're out exercising your dog, like you do, he's behind the bike. Like you and I, we'd probably pull off the bike, maybe eat a granola bar or something.
Yeah.
Would you feed Timber, or would you feed him, offer him a snack when he's running hard like that?
Nope.
Now, why not?
So when I first started this, I was so excited because I bought a backpack for my dog, and I was like, "Oh yeah."
For him to wear, or
yeah,
for you
for
to
him,
lug around?
For him to wear, because he's a trail dog, right? And I'm so excited to have a trail dog, and so I better get him all the gear. So I bought him a backpack, and I stuffed a bunch of stuff in there, and one of them was food, because I thought, well, it's a backpack, put some food in there, just like you and I, just like you just said.
And being a new dad, we've got snacks in every bag we've got now.
Yeah, I bet. And this is a guy who's been a veterinary professional for a long time and knows better, and I didn't see it. I didn't see through that because I was so excited about this vision that I had of my trail dog. So I was taking a bowl and feeding them along the way. That's not a good practice. They really, most of these animals, they can't chase a mountain bike for more than a couple of hours. You do need
a couple of hours. That seems like quite a long time.
It is, and you do need to manage their hydration, but they don't need caloric intake. The risk of putting food into a dog's stomach and then running and exercising them is so high that you really want to avoid that. And then when you are giving them water along the way, it should be in small doses. We're going to do a future podcast about this. I've got a great veterinarian who's going to talk all about what bloat and GDV are, how they occur, and warning signs. And along the way, I'll add in some experience I have about knowing how to hydrate an active dog and what you need to do as a teaser, like just knowing that you've got a really foamy mouth and you can hear some popping noises in the trachea because they've got a lot of foam. You want to clear that. You want to give them enough water to keep that mouth lubricated, wet, but you don't want them taking on a big volume of water into the stomach and making it pendulous and swingy so that it turns on itself. So
more to follow on that future podcast. Be on the lookout for that one.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Randal. Be on the lookout.
Touching on the website a little bit more. You sound like you're going to have gear review, trail review, some how-to guides. What else is this website going to offer?
So the podcast will probably be where a lot of the veterinary stuff is going to come from. So we're going to talk with board-certified nutritionalists about what's going on with diet. So you want to know about raw diet? We're going to talk about that with somebody who really knows. Good. And what you can do and what are some alternatives.
I'm definitely going to watch that one because I don't know enough about that, and I'd like to know more. So
it's a growing topic because people are really into it, which, you and I were talking earlier today about the different nutritional plans that we're following. There's a lot out there. Nice. We'll talk to a cardiologist about heart health. We'll talk with surgeons about arthritis and bone surgery and hip dysplasia and what's going on with these seniors. So those will be some of the topics that we'll get into, and many more. We've got rattlesnake aversion training that we're going to be doing,
which I've been lucky enough to work.
That's right.
Seasons with
That's
you.
right. You've been.
And wow, what a impactful course that is.
Yeah, amazing, right?
So all of that information will be on the website.
All that'll be on the website. So we have the website that will be kind of the primary reservoir for all that information, and then we have a companion Facebook site. We have a companion Instagram site. YouTube. We have a YouTube channel that houses all the pod life. All of it is the pod life, and then YouTube just warehouses all the videos, so you can subscribe to that if that's your jam and that's how you like to get information. The podcasts are all hosted on Apple, and so you can look at you can get onto Apple just like you would any other podcast and subscribe and download. It'll be on Stitcher, Google Play. All those items. And so probably keep an eye on the Trail Dog blog on the website. That's where everything's all the information will post most frequently, and then that bumps out to the Facebook page. So between those two, if you're trying to catch a show and figure out where things are, jump on either one of those and you'll be in good shape.
I know you cook a lot at home, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you ever feed Timber human food?
I do. I do. I think we probably all do from time to time. Probably more a little snack here, maybe licks the plate. We won't tell anybody about that. It's just you and me, right?
Right.
So.
But as far as meals, I mean, are you allowed to feed him human food?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the question is like, should people be feeding their dog, the same thing that they're eating on the human side? Probably not. You can if you are able to take the time to figure out the macronutrients like protein, carbohydrates, fats, the micronutrients, vitamins, minerals. If you've got the time to figure that out for your dog's caloric needs, and prepare it in a safe way and store it in a safe way so that you can, have a home cooked meal for them, yeah, that's totally doable. But feeding the food right off of your plate, you're probably going to bounce into some problems because you're going to have things that are going to be too spicy, too much salt, too much spice, too much fat, and you can cause some problems with the pancreas, all kinds of things. And so what you eat every night, the varied diet that you eat, is probably going to be too rich for your dog. And so, but do people create their own foods at home versus maybe a commercial bought food? Yeah, all the time. And there are recipes you can find online for that, and that's awesome. And we're going to get deep into that this year. With one of the future podcasts, we'll be bringing in a clinical nutritionist, a board certified veterinary nutritionist. Yeah, and we're going to really dig into some of these nutritional topics. At lunch today, you and I were talking a little bit about our diets, right? Maybe you're vegan, maybe you're vegetarian, maybe you're paleo, maybe you're a carnivore, maybe you're keto, maybe you're keto flex 12-3, whatever, right? So with all that dialogue going on out there and on a human side of things with their diets and how people are eating, it's very natural that people are looking at different diets for their dogs. The raw diet's gotten very popular, and what we're doing with raw diets or freeze-dried diets or the home-cooked diets, which I'm very curious about. So we'll bring someone in who actually knows what they're talking about and really take a deep dive on that. So you can look forward to that.
That seems like an extended conversation.
Yeah, that's more than it's more than a soundbite. Like that, you got to get that right. Like we talked about earlier with Timber. If your dog has special medical needs, then that's not as easy for me to do, because not only do I need to get his regular nutritional balance right, I have other needs in him. And so if you've got an animal with kidney disease, liver disease, brain dysfunction, there is a brain diet if you have brain dysfunction for cognitive function in an older senior animal.
I might look into that for myself.
Yeah, you should. It's pretty amazing. It really spices things up for you at home.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that feeding your dog what you're eating at home is probably not good for them. Not to mention your caloric intake is so much higher for you than it can be for your animals.
And I mean, each animal probably would have a different caloric intake depending on their lifestyle. I'm sure Timber, he's quite the athlete. He probably requires more calories than a little chubby dachshund.
Yeah, if you live a more relaxed home lifestyle and maybe your breed type is not a high calorie burn, high active, high energy dog, a smaller breed, a larger breed, a dog that chases mountain bikes all the time versus a dog that chases shadows at home, then you don't need the same amount, just like us, just like humans. And when you're doing big caloric consumption and energy burn, then you can eat more calories. You can replace more calories. So.
Right. And it kind of makes me think, if you're feeding your dog softer foods, and I know that crunchy dog foods, harder dog foods actually would help, scale some of the tartar off of their teeth, will help prevent accumulation.
Yeah.
I did see that video you guys made on YouTube with Dr. Delancher
and
Randy, and I thought that was really good. I encourage you guys to check that out. I actually learned a couple things too. And
yeah, you liked it?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that'd be good for clients to see, especially prior to going into the animal hospital or even watching it in the lobby or something, because it kind of helps tailor their questions in a way. It would actually help answer some of their questions they may have and tailor their questions in a more effective way to get to the veterinarian.
Yeah, that's really a big reason why we put that together. I'm glad you were able to check that out. I appreciate it.
It was great.
We had a lot of fun making it. If you want to see it, it's on YouTube at the Pod Life, and you'll see the dental video, and it's more longer format. A lot of stuff we do is short format, 5 minutes, 6 minutes kind of thing. This is 30-minute episode, and the idea here was dental care is really impactful on our pets. If you're not managing teeth and you've got a lot of dental calculi and plaque building up on there. All that stuff is a mainlining right down into the heart. And so endocarditis becomes a problem, problems with the valves of the heart, serious problems that show up later in life from a lifetime of bacteria just dumping into the bloodstream and then jumping right into the heart. And so we want people to get that, but it's expensive. If you're on it and you're doing routine maintenance in the dental work, then the cost is going to be lower for you because you're getting after it.
Prophylactically getting it done.
Yeah. If you're not, which is probably most people, you discover the world of veterinary dental care when you realize, God, my dog's breath is terrible.
Won't even let them lick you anymore.
Right. You're like,
I can't wash it off.
Right. It's gross. And then somebody shows you, or you flip the lip, and you realize that there's some real buildup in there.
Barnacles.
Well, yeah, that's a more extensive veterinary dental procedure to clean all that off. We do the same thing on the veterinary side that humans do. So there's an ultrasonic scaler that goes underneath the gum line and gets all the buildup that's below the gum surface. The back of the mouth, behind the back molars, you can't do that on an awake animal very effectively.
X-rays?
Yeah, X-rays.
Have you ever gone to the dentist without getting X-rays?
Not at all.
Me neither.
Once a year, right? And a lot of people are doing non-anesthetic dentals, and so that's interesting. And I don't want to weigh in on that as much as to just say that there isn't a good way to safely get in an animal's mouth and take a sharp probe and scale off bacterial buildup underneath the gum line in a way that's not going to be painful and uncomfortable for an awake animal.
Right, and not to mention, you can't get much underneath the gums. It's more of like an aesthetic cleaning.
That's right. You're just getting the surface stuff, but that's not where the real problems are.
Right.
We all know that, and so I appreciate an effort by folks to clean teeth in a way that's less costly for owners. I just fear that there's maybe a big misunderstanding about what's really happening. So an anesthetic dental is the way to go. So with that in mind, when you come in for advanced dental care or intermediate dental care, it's going to involve anesthesia. It's going to involve anesthetic monitoring, blood work, dental radiographs, the scaling of the teeth. So many people are involved in that. And a lot of times we felt like our owners don't really get to see that. They come in the hospital, they check in at the front, they have a dental exam, they talk to a veterinarian, they drop their animal, their patient off, they part with a lot of money, and they don't really know how much work went into that. So we just want people to understand the value of what they're getting for their hard-earned dollars, because they're hard-earned dollars, and we don't separate them from that money without appreciating that. So we thought we'd put together a fun video that allowed them to meet some of the players and get a very close, in-depth look at what's going on in the dental procedure. So, as you saw, you get to follow a patient, Abby, through the procedure, including the pre-anesthetic blood work, the pre-anesthetic chest x-rays that they did, the dental x-rays, the scaling of the teeth, the recovery, the tools, the people. So it's cool, it's fun. We didn't want it to be highly polished, so we didn't hire a bunch of people to put a big production effort into it. We did it all with a GoPro. It was us.
It was a regular day at the office.
Yeah, regular day at the office, and so it was a lot of fun. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Definitely. I encourage you guys to go check that out.
Yeah, please do, and leave us some comments and let us know. And so, on the website, we hope to be able to continue to do that kind of stuff. And so, you would ask me a little bit about what that website structure looks like, and so that's really it. It'll have gear reviews, trail reviews, videos like the dental video, but also like the nail trim video, and also the podcasts. And so you can hear from a cardiologist, hear from a nutritionalist. We're going to talk about GDV and bloat and what that is, torsion.
Especially for active dogs, those things are important.
Yeah, it happens enough. A good friend of ours, I'm hoping to interview him. It happened to him,
or him or his dog.
It happened to him riding with his dog, and his dog was drinking a bunch of water at a creek, and the stomach flipped and it bloated, and so it happened to both of them, I guess.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
And he showed up on emergency, and we, and his comment to me afterwards was, "Dude, I never heard of this. How come people aren't talking about this? This seems like and it is a true emergency. I mean, you have hours, not days, to deal with that one. And so we thought, well, who better to get the word out on that than Pod Life, a trail active dog healthy lifestyle website. I thought that's a perfect topic for us. So that's the kind of stuff.
I think it's great. I think it's really good to have a nice reservoir of useful information for people to tap into and get what they need out of their pet lifestyle.
I appreciate that. That's what we're hoping to bring forward. We're really looking forward to hearing from people on topics that they find interesting or confusing or just want to know more about. And at the same time, we want to keep it real. Talking with you today a little bit about, like we traveled into some dark zones, and I think it's important for people to know about that kind of stuff.
For sure.
We don't want it to be real static and just programmatic. We'd like it, pull the curtain back a little bit and let people see what veterinary medicine's really like, while at the same time building a community of, people that are like-minded and interested in developing a long life with their pet and an active lifestyle, because it's beneficial for not only the pet but for their human counterparts.
Right.
Like, why not?
It's great.
Why not?
Are you going to have these things available on all social media platforms?
Yeah. So, there's the website, and then there's a whole complement of social. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. The YouTube site is active, so that warehouses all the videos, and so it's broken up into a couple playlists, but you can jump on there, and please subscribe if you're listening and you want to be able to get in there and know when the new ones go up. That's really helpful. And if anybody's out there listening and thinking this is cool and wants to be supportive, the thing that I would ask for the most is please just go on to whatever of these sites that you're using, and please like it and share it. If you're downloading from Apple, iTunes, leave a review. It's so hard to get reviews on there, and when you do that, it really helps the search results. So that's a way you can pay us back if you're interested in doing that, because we don't get paid for this stuff. We're just doing it. And so if we can get more users and more followers, that makes the site more successful, and that comes from people taking a few minutes to write a little review or like or share or subscribe. That's how it happens these days. And so
I know me and my wife, anytime we're going to go somewhere new, she's on Yelp, in the car, in the driveway of where we're going, just to double check.
So what do you think about Yelp? What do you think about it from the perspective of a consumer, but also from the perspective of a veterinary employee?
Well, I would say as a consumer, I personally don't use it very much.
Okay.
But my wife, she uses it religiously. So, in a sense, I don't have to use it.
Yeah. You've got people?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, she uses it religiously. And, I'd say it's paid off in dividends. We're probably not going to go to some place that has, negative ratings. And we do like to read reviews and see what's going on. But as a veterinarian, or from a veterinary practice, I would say it's buku beneficial, because then you could kind of see people are leaving you reviews, and you can kind of see what you're doing well, and what people are griping about, and not necessarily you can hold that for to stone, but I think it's definitely a useful tool, and I'd say it's more prevalent now than it ever was.
Oh God, it's tricky for me, and it is super prevalent, and from a management chair, it's really complicated, because
people can just be mad and leave you negative reviews, and it's just slander at the point.
Yeah, I think it's with any survey system, you get the polar ends, right? You get the people that love you, even if you're terrible. Like, you get people that just think you're amazing, and they're going to say great things on that end. And then there's the other end that you will never be able to redeem yourself. Whatever's gone wrong, if they didn't like something, they're going to flame you and tear you apart. And you miss that big group of people in the middle who are just kind of like, they've had good experiences, but they're not going to go out there and put anything in it. So those things are pretty polar. As a consumer, I use Yelp all the time. If I'm trying to find a place to eat when I'm out of town somewhere, and I tend to trust the positive reviews, because there doesn't seem to be controversy in positive. Like, you had a great experience, it was cool. When I see a lot of negative reviews, I'm dubious, and I think it's partly just because I am in a position to hear client complaints about wherever it is I'm working, because as the manager, I have all the intimate details of what went on. And then those, sometimes it's deserved, and when it is, we will stand up and be totally accountable to that. And most of those times, they don't make it to Yelp because we work it out with an owner and we apologize and we're humble and we say, you know what, we dropped the ball there. We could have done better. Allow us to make it better for you.
And learn from the experience.
Yeah, and most of the time those people, they respond to that well. And we have to respond to and deal with any consumer or client complaint. So everybody has this opportunity to work with us. And when we're not, and when it wasn't our fault, which happens, and sometimes people are people and they're sideways on whatever the topic is, and they maybe don't understand, aren't fully educated on the process, don't get the medicine. For a whole host of reasons, they may just not be coming to the issue correctly.
And vet med's touchy.
Vet med's
very
touchy.
easy to be, like you said, polar ends of it.
Yeah, and it's emotions, right? Most
Absolutely.
vet med on the client communication is driven by emotions, and so then they jump on Yelp and Google, and they just flame you. And as a professional business, you can't engage. You don't go back on there and say, oh, well, however,
Right.
what you don't,
Arguing
you can't
on
do
Yelp.
that. Yeah, and so you just got to take it.
Yeah.
It is hard sometimes to take those punches in social media,
Especially when they're not deserved.
Yeah, and when they start naming employees, like, I feel like that's really inappropriate and dangerous this day and age. And I wish Yelp would look at that and maybe restrict somehow if you're going to write a negative review. Like, I've had employees' names, and we've lobbied hard to have those names removed because that's not fair,
Right.
because you're in a community and they work for me. And even if they have made a mistake, like, then take it up with me, take it up with the hospital. Let's arbitrate it out or figure out what we need to do. But don't take that employee of mine and slam them in the community because they got to go to the grocery store and they got to go to the restaurant. And, like, that's not fair. And
Right.
whatever your issue with them might have been, it might have been a problem you had with the protocol or the policy of the hospital or the facility that employee was just maintaining. And so I feel this is where I start getting protective and defensive.
Papa Bear.
Yeah, because we have a difficult job and a high suicide rate, and I want my people taken care of, and I don't, that hurts people, and I'm used to it as a manager. I'm exposed to that. I'm trained for that. I'm used to that. I don't like it, but I'm prepared for it.
Right.
My general employees are just people who love animals, and maybe they had a bad day like everybody else, like you could have at your business, and they don't deserve to have that attack. And so, sometimes I get my hackles up, and I try to see it from both sides. And so these review sites I'm interested to see where all this goes and how it evolves over the years, because the good days are the good days, and the bad days are debatable.
Yeah.
So yeah, social media, it's out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great platform, especially for the things that you're trying to do right now.
Yeah.
It's a good access point. For
Yeah, I
good
appreciate you
knowledge.
bringing that back to a good spot.
Trying.
Yeah, well, that's good. I feel that's why you're guest number one, Randal. And I really appreciate you coming up and doing this.
I'm honored.
It's been a great time. I think people are going to enjoy hearing from you.
I hope so.
Benefit from your insight. And I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Craig.
Appreciate it. And all of you that were listening today, whether on the podcast or the video cast or whatever we're doing with it, thanks for tuning in. Please leave us some comments. Check us out, all the normal outro here. Check us out on Facebook, all of our social media sites. But if you do anything, please give us feedback. Please like us, dislike us, tell us what you think was good and wasn't good. But
Just show us some love.
Yeah, show us some love so we can figure out what to do, and only give us positive reviews on Yelp and no negative reviews. You give those to the other guy. So, hey, we got a couple things to look at coming up in the future. In June, I'll post a date soon, but in June we're doing our rattlesnake aversion clinic. That'll be here in Big Bear. So,
It's a good course.
Yeah, we'll do a little preview on that so people can know a little bit more about it. So we've got that going on. VCA Lakeside is sponsoring the National Trails Day. I don't have the date on that yet, so we will announce that, but we're going to do a trail day. So we'll be bringing in volunteers, and we will probably put together some trail dog seminar at the same time, teach you a little bit about how to work a dog on trail.
Will Timber the trail dog be there?
Timber the trail dog will be
All
there.
right.
But it's important to remember that Timber's peculiar. sometimes nervous of men because
Sure.
of his rough
He barked at
history.
me. I showed up with a hat on.
So he'll come, but sometimes he has good days and bad
Little
days. So he might be in the background more. But we'll find some good trail dogs to get out there. So and then so we'll have some events and some things coming up real soon. So we'll be sure and keep those going on the Facebook page. And that's all I got.
Great.
Okay. Thanks
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, that's a wrap. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find us at thepodlife.com or on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Look us up under The Pod Life. And last but not least, shoot me an email at craig@thepodlife.com. See ya.